Tucked away in one corner on the second floor of the Bennington Museum is a small library containing somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 volumes of books and periodicals that is a treasure trove of the history not only of Bennington, but of the entire state of Vermont. Tyler Resch is the librarian and overseer of it, and he brings a background steeped in local history to the post he's held for more than 20 years. The author of several books on Vermont history, as well as the editor of the Bennington Banner for more than a dozen years, he curates the selection of literature and information available at the museum's library. Its main focus is around genealogy. Many people come through the room to learn about ancestors who they think may once have lived in the area, or who might have fought in the Revolutionary War, perhaps at the Battle of Bennington in 1777.
These are people and subject matter. Got a big file on here. This is on Shaftesbury. We've got a wonderful file on Somerset and Searsburg, for example.
Even in this digital era, when much of that sort of information may be available online, there are a lot of people who like to do that research the old-fashioned way. He told us during a recent visit there.
At least what we have here is what's not available online. For example, I've got 12 file drawers, thick, heavy file drawers of genealogical correspondence, staff here, or like, for example, when I see someone doing an interesting a bit of research on family history, I say, could I have a copy? And we have it in the file. So all that material is not available online. And I think it's become, because of the internet, it's become quite a valuable asset here. No, it's focused on New England families. New England families. No, it's not necessarily Vermont, although I do emphasize Vermont. I've got wonderful Vermont, for example, these gazetteers of the different counties in Vermont. Take the orange one for Orange County, for example. That's really a wonderful resource. Every town in Orange County has a section in it, and very, very heavy on the original inhabitants of that town. So we found really that's been a really quite interesting resource over the years.
So are most of the folks that come in, are they people who had family who used to live here at one point in the past? And
very heavily so. You know, the whole history of the Vermont population is that as soon as Governor Wentworth opened things up to settlement here, it just exploded, and people came up from southern New England, and then after we got up to the census of 1791, the first census of Vermont suddenly had 85,000 people in it, and that doubled, and it doubled again in the next couple of decades, and then there was kind of a turnaround where people found there was better soil and not so many rocks and not so many mountains elsewhere. So there was a great outmigration from Vermont. The typical pathway that I've found repeatedly from people who've come in here is that their ancestors settled here from probably Connecticut, and then they settled in New York State, and for a few years, and then went on to settle the other states in the Midwest, Illinois, Iowa, Michigan. The states that hadn't been settled yet. That's a real phenomenon here. So there's a consequence. We get people from those states coming back, looking for their Vermont ancestors. We do a really pretty good job on that. And the other good asset here that's frequently used is people looking for ancestors in the Revolution, specifically. I had one yesterday looking for somebody in the Battle of Bennington, and I've got a pretty good file on that. I've taken a special interest in Vermont history myself, and we do very well here with some of the early documents and the early state papers. It's a wonderful thing to browse. We have, for example, the 8 volumes of what's called Governor and Council, and that's the records of the first the Republic of Vermont from 1777 to 1791, before statehood. And that contains just a treasure of fascinating stuff about the early Vermont history. And And of course, you have to get involved with both New Hampshire and New York to understand what happened here because of the dispute over the jurisdiction. So some of the early New York volumes are fascinating too.
The museum's research library is open on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 1 to 5 p.m. It's easy to find, and even if you don't think you had an ancestor who might have had a passing acquaintance with Ethan Allen or Molly or John Stark, it's definitely worth a visit the next time you're passing through the museum. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.